In a rare diplomatic dispute, Albania and its closest political ally, Kosovo, have apparently fallen out. This all kicked off last month after the publication of a joint letter by Albania's Prime Minister Edi Rama and Serbia's President Aleksandar Vučić, published in a prominent German newspaper, in which they urged the EU to admit them, even without full voting rights. The idea was quickly rejected by the European Enlargement Commissioner, but it also didn't go down well in Kosovo. Reports soon emerged that Kosovo's Justice Minister had been barred from official engagements in Albania following her critiques of Rama allying himself with Vučić. Whilst this was later denied by the Albanian ambassador, the episode is symptomatic of a broader downturn in relations between Tirana and Pristina, as their positions on regional integration, relations with Serbia, and the pace of EU accession have increasingly diverged. So, in this video, we're going to have a look at why Kosovo and Albanian relations are somewhat on the rocks. Trump says a deal in Ukraine is 95% done, but in the latest edition of our magazine, we discuss why this might be a little too optimistic, with some major concerns still on the way. That's just one of 72 pages in the magazine, because as always, there's more to too long than you'd expect. Purchase your copy by clicking the link in the description. Let's start with the EU's relationship with the Western Balkans. In 2009, both Serbia and Albania formally applied for EU membership, and in 2014 they were granted candidate status. This was the same year the Berlin process was launched, an EU-led initiative aimed to support accession in the Western Balkans and promote regional cooperation between candidates and potential candidate countries. However, after Croatia joined the EU in 2013, enthusiasm within the EU for further enlargement began to fade. Despite making impressive progress on judicial reform and tackling organised crime, Albania's accession process was complicated by the fact it was twinned with North Macedonia's application, which was blocked by Bulgaria over a dispute over minority rights, thus holding both countries back. Serbia's progress, meanwhile, has stalled due to concerns over rule of law and Vučić's foreign policy orientation, particularly his close ties with Russia and China. Normalisation of relations with Kosovo remains another major obstacle. Serbia still refuses to recognise Kosovo's independence, declared in 2008, and the two sides have yet to sort out an EU-mediated community of Serb-majority municipalities, a key requirement for advancing their accession talks. Frustrated by slow progress, Rama and Vučić, alongside North Macedonia, launched the Open Balkan Initiative in 2019. The idea was to create a regional single market, similar to the EU among Western Balkan countries. Rama was blunt about his frustrations, saying, "Enlargement has not stalled, it's stopped." Vučić echoed this statement, arguing it was time for the region to take its future into its own hands. However, a number of Western Balkan countries weren't interested in this initiative, with Montenegro, Kosovo, and Bosnia and Herzegovina refusing to sign up. Kosovo, which applied for EU membership in 2022, strongly opposed the initiative. Prime Minister Albin Kurti warned it could serve as a vehicle for Serbian regional dominance and even risk increasing Russian influence in the region, and also criticised Rama for aligning too closely with Serbia. Now, while this was a rare instance of public discord between Kosovo and Albania, which has long been Kosovo's strongest international ally, it's worth noting that relations haven't actually always been smooth. Kosovo has, at times, expressed resentment at what it sees as Albania's paternalistic approach, and the rivalry between Pristina and Tirana's two socialist leaders, Rama and Kurti, has also been a point of tension. Rama, who's generally seen as more pragmatic and Western-oriented, has occasionally clashed with Kurti, who, it's fair to say, has the more ideological and nationalist tendencies. These differences are especially visible on the issue of Kosovo's Serbia normalisation. For instance, Rama has occasionally pursued independent diplomatic initiatives, such as proposing a statue for the community of Serb-majority municipalities, which Kurti has interpreted as interference. Nevertheless, the Open Balkan Initiative went ahead, but it didn't last long. In 2023, rising tensions between Serbia and Kosovo came to a head, particularly after Serbia refused to release 3 Kosovo border police officers detained by Serbian military police. While Rama criticised Kurti's handling of relations with Serbia, he also announced the freezing of ties with Serbia and effectively brought the Open Balkan Initiative to an end. By that point, the project had already been criticised as divisive, ineffective, and out of step with the EU. Although Rama claimed that the initiative had fulfilled its purpose, many saw the decision as a defensive reaction to mounting domestic political pressure, especially from the opposition, which had been vocally critical of the initiative. However, in the past year or so, the EU has started taking the question of enlargement more seriously. Amid efforts to fast-track Ukraine's EU membership, the idea of a two-tier EU membership light programme has recently gained traction in Brussels. In other words, a phased EU accession process that would involve new peripheral member states waiving their right of veto. Under this model, new members could gradually integrate, joining parts of the EU such as the single market, customs union, or education and energy programmes, before gaining full membership rights. The idea is to deliver tangible benefits early, keeping candidate countries motivated while they move towards full membership. While Ukraine has voiced scepticism about what it sees as a watered-down version of EU membership, Rama has taken a very different position. Re-elected last year on a promise to secure EU membership for Albania by 2030, he said he would be more than happy with a phased accession model. He's even suggested that Albania would not necessarily need its own EU commissioner, saying in an interview with Politico in January that he does not want to challenge the EU's big dogs, France and Germany, adding that, in the end, they're the adults in the family who make the important decisions. Then, last week, in a joint letter, Rama and Vučić formally backed a phased EU accession process that would involve waiving veto rights and even accepting limited institutional representation. According to the letter, the prospect of membership remains the strongest driver for reform, investment and reconciliation, and a gradual approach would be more realistic and avoid adding unnecessary pressure on the EU's unanimous decision-making system. While this move may be presented as a way to reinforce stability in the region, critics in Kosovo have viewed it with deep suspicion. In Albania, opposition leader and former Prime Minister Sali Berisha described Rama as Vučić's servant and accused him of misusing state institutions for political purposes. In Kosovo, the Justice Minister also publicly criticised the Rama-Vucic proposal, arguing that allowing Albania and Serbia to move towards the EU together could weaken Kosovo's position. Speaking to a broadcaster in Pristina, she warned that the initiative risked reinforcing a pattern in which, when Europe puts pressure on Vučić, Edi Rama appears to relieve it. She added that the citizens of Kosovo will not forgive Rama, and criticised the fact that the proposal makes no reference to Serbia's ties with Russia and China. Within days of these remarks, reports emerged that Albania's foreign minister had convened a virtual meeting with ambassadors and instructed them not to facilitate official visits or meetings for her in Albania, although this was later denied by the Albanian ambassador. This all comes at a particularly difficult moment for Rama's government, which is already facing growing backlash and anti-government protests over corruption allegations. At the same time, if Rama can't speed up the accession process and deliver on his promise to get Albania into the EU by 2030, then things could start to look even worse for the Albanian Prime Minister. As we mentioned earlier, the latest edition of our magazine Too Long is out now, which means that if you order a physical edition, it'll be shipped to you immediately, and if you buy a digital edition, it'll land in your inbox straight away. No pre-ordering, no waiting. Plus, if you subscribe while you're there using code SPRING26, you'll get your first copy for as little as £4.99, as well as 20% off every future issue as long as you stay subscribed. One other thing to know is that if you're more of a listener than a reader, which would be fair enough, we are a YouTube channel after all, then this time round we've recorded every article in Too Long, with each of our writers doing their best audiobook impression while narrating their own articles.
The New Age of Empires. Written and read by Georgina Finley.
If you want that, then you can sign up to our new Too Long and TLDR Party bundle. That gets you a copy of the magazine, but also access to TLDR Party, our new subscription. Party members not only get access to the audio versions of every article, they also get access to our documentaries, like our new series Leaders and Losers and our upcoming documentary we're recording in Greenland right now. They get access to our behind-the-scenes podcast The Bullpen, our bonus podcast The Last Move, their name printed in every issue of our magazine, and more. Find out more about TLDR Party by clicking the link in the description, where you'll also find a link to subscribe to Too Long and our documentaries.